Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film About Dry Grasses, directed by Nuri, Bilge, Ceylan. Now, I didn't know very much about this film, and actually I think that's a good way to see it. It really does take you on a journey. I had seen one of Nuri's previous films, Wild Pear Tree, which I found quite a demanding watch, but it's one of those films that kind of marinated as you digested it in the days after seeing it. From this and his other films that I've read about, Nuri definitely makes work in the slow cinema category, and this one is definitely slow. It's 3 hours and 25 minutes, and it's definitely not for everyone. I think that you have to go to see it knowing what to expect. It's very earnest, it's very heavy going, it's dialogue heavy, it's full of big philosophical and political debates that last for a long time. It's got really long tapes. It's just, the whole thing just feels non-stop. It's very intense. Of course, the film's in Turkish, so I watched it in the cinema with subtitles. And the subtitles were coming so thick and fast that it was sometimes hard to be able to look at the scene because you had to keep reading the subtitles. They were coming and going so quickly, and I definitely missed some. So, watching this film evoked all kinds of things for me. Firstly, I kept thinking of Albert Camus, The Stranger and The Myth of Sisyphus. So when our protagonist, Samet, is walking up a really steep hill at the end, I was really waiting for a Sisyphus moment to see him pushing a boulder up the hill. It also made me think of Dostoevsky. Samet definitely has something of Raskolnikov and the Karamazov father. In terms of style, there's something of Bellatar and something of Tarkovsky. I know this perhaps sounds kind of ridiculous. It's a bit of an overload, but About Dry Grasses is heavy and serious. It reminded me of the film Malmkrog, which Joe and I reviewed a while back. I found the heavy dialogue exhausting and frustrating, and again there was a subtitles problem for me there. But afterwards I realised that this film had done something really special. About Dry Grasses did feel like hard work at times. There again, the 3 hours and 25 minutes wasn't too painful, so something did work. The film feels really epic. It definitely feels like it takes you on a journey, and that it does add up to something by the end of the film. I remember feeling that about the other Nuri film I've seen, Wild Pear Tree. Our main character, Samet, is an art teacher and he's teaching in a school in a remote place. He considers himself kind of above this town, this small town, and he finds life there really meaningless. In a nutshell, this is what the film is about. Alienated people trying to find meaning in life, with a particular focus on Samet, our main character, the teacher. He's selfish, he's narcissistic, he's self-centered, he's manipulative, he's childish. For the first act of the film, it looks like it's going to tell a particular story around Samet being accused of being inappropriate with one of his students. There is a lot of ambiguity here. He doesn't actually do anything which explicitly constitutes abuse or harassment, but I did find it very troubling. It was he was very flirty, he was discriminatory. The other children were picking up on his inappropriate behaviour. It definitely was not appropriate behaviour for a teacher and a student. Samet is lying, manipulative and selfish. Even in class he behaves like a child with the children. And I found it very threatening. I wasn't sure whether we were supposed to like Samet. I have the feeling that there's supposed to be more ambiguity around his character than I actually experienced. I never liked Samet. I found him dishonest, disloyal, self-centered, over-pessimistic and negative, but a super interesting character. There was something troubling about how the children's complaints were not taken more seriously, how they were hushed up. And in fact, this seems to be a society where other things are suppressed. There are other examples with teachers dating and an accident where one of the other characters ends up losing a leg. So it looks like this is the story that it's going to tell, the inappropriate relationship with the student. But that story kind of fades into the background as the film goes on. This isn't really a film with any specific narrative. I think it's about alienation, about detachment, about suppression of feelings and difficult events. I really enjoyed the cinematography. The opening shot of the snow is just stunning, where land and sky merge into one. It's so clean, it's so pure. And a man gets out of a minibus and trudges towards us. This is Samet coming back to school at the end of the school holidays. The snow in the film is beautiful, but I think it's depicting a kind of emptiness. It looks good, but in fact, there's kind of an overwhelming nothingness, and it contrasts with the end when the snow is gone. There's lots of dead grass underneath this snow. This pure white exterior has dead grass underneath, and I think that's a big metaphor for what's going on in this film. Aside from the white, a lot of the colour in this film is unsaturated inside the school, inside most of the buildings, except for Samet's home, which is kind of very warm and cosy. I'm not really sure what this is actually saying, but it was very noticeable. Throughout the film, the frame will freeze and show us a portrait of a person or a group of people that were in the scene. And they are quite interesting, these images, because they're kind of really high resolution, idealized image of living in these remote places. They're the kind of images that you would see in a Sunday supplement. They would look so good in magazines and on social media, but the resolution of the real life was not as high as the photographs. So I thought this was an interesting feature. There's very little music in this film. The few times that there is music, therefore, is really noticeable. And this feels very deliberate. That said, it didn't feel like the music actually contributed a lot, even though it really stood out because it was so few and far between. I think actually the film could have had no music. It's not really possible to give spoilers for this film, but I will mention one or two things which I think work well when you're not certain where the film is going. I don't think they will spoil the film, but there could be a merit in seeing it before hearing too much about it. So switch off now and come back if you feel you'd prefer not to know. There is this Brechtian moment where Samet walks out of the set and into the back lot where people are sitting around, and this just comes out of nowhere, and it's not really 100% clear what this is saying. I mean, obviously, in terms of a Brechtian approach, it's like telling us that the narrative is constructed. It's reminding us that we're watching a performance. It's jolting the audience into questioning what they're watching. Is it actually making a deeper point? Life is theatre, everyone is acting, no one can be taken as authentic. The pure snow outside has dead grass on the inside. On one level, I loved this moment. It was thrilling. On another level, as I say, I'm not 100% sure what it means, that it actually relates to the film. And I do wonder if it's just a gimmick. Now, I'm making these notes about 3 hours after I saw the film, and already I'm finding that it's still percolating for me. So overall, I would definitely recommend this film if you know what you're going to get. It's heavy duty, it's earnest, it's full on. Which may kind of seem like a weird thing to say for slow cinema, because it is slow, but this is kind of an achievement, I guess. Definitely worth seeing this film. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.